Connolly, thank you very much for being here. As I mentioned, you are on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. I wanted to get your reaction to what's unfolding in Russia with armed mercenaries apparently staging a rebellion.
This could very well be the unraveling of the Putin regime. This is certainly the biggest existential threat he's faced in his 23 years in rule. The Wagner Group was his own creation. He allowed it enormous latitude all over the world, allowed it to criticize the Russian military and to engage in independent activities, and was the only really successful part of the Russian invasion in Ukraine. To have a 25,000-man force take without resistance the command center of all Russian activity in Ukraine on Rostov-on-Don, as happened earlier this morning, is a very significant development. And then, of course, Prigozhin has gone further.